DekuXListener, I wish I could have saved you. As you and Deku walk by the beach, you both hear a loud explosion in the distance. As you two see people running by you and Deku, you both run towards the noise. Deku looks at you and sees the worried look on your face. He holds your wrist and you stop running, then look at him. He gives you a look that gives you a sign to calm down and that everything is going to be okay. You smile at him, he smiles back at you. You two start running at the same pace next to each other. You both stop and see a building on fire and people running out of the building. Run out of the burning building, coughing with children, and as soon as you saw children running out with their parents or without them, you went towards a little boy without his parents and you say to him, "Where's your parents?" "They're inside," the little boy says, pointing inside the burning building. You run inside the building, and the last thing you hear as you run inside is Deku screaming your name as you run through the burning building. You see nobody left, and as you turn around, you see two people stuck under a piece of wood. They look like a married couple. It looks like the piece of wood is about to catch on fire. You run towards them and try to lift up the piece of wood. As you look, you see that the fire is getting closer to the wood you're stuck under. But before you continue to try and lift the wood up, you take your sweater and shirt off and try to cover the couple's noses and mouths. And as they cover their mouths and noses, you finally lift up the piece of wood. You start to cough, and while you're coughing, you tell them to leave. As you look at the piece of wood again, at the corner of your eye, you see the lady's leg is injured. You get closer to her, still holding the piece of wood, but with one hand. And with the free hand, you reach out your free hand and say, "Grab my hand." She looks at you, then your hand, then back at you. You nod at her, and she reaches her hand towards yours. You both turn to the fire, getting even bigger and more wood falling. As she's still looking at the wood falling and the fire getting bigger and bigger, you look at her. Let go of the piece of wood. You were holding and grabbing her bridal style as fast as you could. The piece of wood did scrape against your skin, but you were focusing on getting the lady out of the burning building. As you two are running towards the exit, more wood starts to fall, but not like before. This time the wooden bricks were falling one after the other, and it kept going. You try to run faster and faster and decide to use your quirk. With Deku, as Deku saw you running into the burning building, he panicked, and as he tried to run inside the building after you, a firefighter stopped him. "Hey, don't go in there. It's too dangerous for you," the firefighter said. "But my friend, I don't know, friend is in there," Deku said to the fireman. "I'm pretty sure nobody else is in there, young man," the firefighter said to Deku. As the firefighters rushed to get their fire hose, more of the building collapsed. Deku tried again to run inside, but again somebody stopped him. But then everybody saw a man holding a piece of clothing Deku was familiar with around his mouth. One of the firemen ran up to him. "My wife and a young lady are still in there," the man said to the firefighters. "There's two people still inside," the fireman screamed to the other firemen, but everybody knew they couldn't go inside the burning building. The best they could do was try to either keep the fire in control or take the fire out as fast as they could. Back with you, you tried using your quirk, but if you did, you knew that you would probably hurt yourself and the lady. You were hoping because they were cracks on the floor. You could just trip and you both would have gotten stuck in the burning building. As you two got closer to the exit, you both saw the people watching the fire build up in the building, or watch the firefighters. You saw Deku. As you looked at him, he saw you, and his face lit up with happiness and tears. But as you were getting closer to the door, a giant piece of wood with a bit of fire fell in front of you You and Deku stopped, but you knew who you had to save. You threw the lady to Deku, making sure she wouldn't touch the fire. Luckily, Deku catched her. As you were about to run out, you heard a bit of wood breaking. You look up and see a huge piece of wood was going to land right on top of you. You look back at Deku, then you tried running back, but then everything collapsed onto you. Deku started to scream, letting go of the lady, dropping her lightly as he could. The firefighters put out the fire. They were about to run towards you, but Deku started to run as fast as he could to where you were. He picked up a piece of wood and saw you. "She's over here!" Deku screamed to the firefighters. They looked up and saw Deku waving his arm to where the both of you were. The firemen ran towards you and Deku looked back at you, trying to pick you up. Then firemen got to where the both of you were and picked you up, put you up, and as they picked you up, a hospital truck pulls in and the back doors swing open with people pulling out a bed and ran towards where you, Deku, and the firefighters were. They put you in the bed and asked the firemen if anybody is with you, and they looked at Deku, and Deku said, "I am their friend. Okay, well, you can come with us inside the truck and look after them with us. Okay, young man?" The nurses say. The nurses put you inside the back of the truck, and Deku got inside. As you all head to the hospital, Deku is just hoping you're okay. As you all pull up towards the hospital, the nurses tell Deku that he might have to wait a while in the waiting room. Deku nods, not asking any questions, and goes back to staring at you. You all head inside the hospital, and Deku goes in the waiting room and waits for an hour and sees a nurse approach him. He stands up straight as the nurse goes towards him. "So you're here for the young lady that got stuck in the building of fire when it collapsed, correct?" The nurse asks Deku. Deku nods, and the nurse says, "Okay, well, you might have to wait for 2 more hours, okay, young man?" "I'll wait as long as it takes," Deku says. The nurse smiles and walks back to the front desk. Deku sits back down and waits for 2 more hours. 2 hours go by, and the lady at the front desk says, "You can go see them now. They're just resting." Deku was really the only one in the waiting room, so he knew the lady was talking to him. "Take 2 rights and a left. The very first room on the right should be their room. The number should be 308, okay?" Deku nods and says thank you to the lady at the front desk and walks and makes 2 rights and then 1 left and sees the room number that said 308. He opens the door and sees you laying down on the bed. He goes and closes the door and sits down on a chair next to your bed and again stares at you. You start to move and Deku sits up straight. You turn your head to him and say, "Midoriya?" He gets up, walks up to you, and hugs you with tears in his eyes, saying, "I'm sorry, I couldn't help or protect you." You turn his head towards yours, making both of your foreheads touch. "I'm glad you didn't get hurt, Deku." You pull him into a kiss. You both pull away. "I just wish I could have protected you," Deku said. "Like always," you say. Yeah, Deku says, pulling you into another kiss.